Hello guys, welcome to the video. So in this video I'm just sort of going to touch upon spending too much time on sort of drafting your team and tinkering with it, taking players in and out when there's just so many weeks to go before the season starts. Obviously at this point we are getting closer. There's only I think 3 weeks to go before the first game week, but I do feel that FPL every season they launch the game far too early, and I do see people that seem to spend an awful lot of time on drafts and asking people to rate their teams. You know, who do I pick out of this person and this person? Should I have this should I have Salah? Should I have Fernandez? Should I have this pair of players and I just feel that you really have to think about how much time you're spending on tinkering with your team, and the reason. So there's three things which mean that with several weeks to go before the game week starts, there are key bits of information that we still don't know in order to make informed decisions on our teams, and that is 1, pre-season lineups, 2, injuries, and 3, transfers that are still to take place. So the first one, pre-season lineups, pretty important. So I don't know about anyone else, but I find that one of the challenges that every time the game comes out, and we all do it, we put a team together, and everyone wants to have the premium players, at least 2, maybe 3 of them. But that's not the hard part. Anyone can have Fernandez in their team, Salah, De Bruyne. The key players are the players that facilitate you having those players. Your cheap players, and most notably, I find it's the defenders. It's identifying those cheap defenders to have in your team that are going to be starters, which enable you to have the more expensive players. So ideally, you kind of want to try and identify at least one base rate defender, so a 4 million price defender. But the problem is, I don't know about anyone else, but I haven't got a clue who is likely to start out of the £4 million players, because we don't know. We haven't got enough information. We haven't seen the pre-season games. So what you'll find is the website called Fantasy Football Scout, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. At some point, I would imagine over the next week or so, they will do an article on the pre-season games and who started the games, who played the most minutes. And I think you need to look for, so any player who's started, say, 75% of the games, you would think is likely to be a starter. So until all that's happened, until we've had those pre-season games, who's got a clue about who is going to start, who's 4 million? Let's just have a quick look at the £4 million defenders, and there really is no one. You probably find that the majority of them are from the promoted teams, or they're just going to be players who are just never going to play. So there they all are. So Mankilo there for Newcastle. Actually, he's quite highly owned at the moment, 12.4%. But again, you really need to see Newcastle's pre-season games to see how many of them he starts. So that's one important bit of information that we still don't really know. And it goes. It's not even just the defenders. Obviously, it's the midfielders and the strikers who. We can say the same thing about who is going to start. Anyone who's looking for perhaps a budget striker who's in the 5.5 million category, who's going to play? You've got Josh King, is he going to play for Watford? Is he going to start? Troy Deeney is 5.5. He's obviously done quite well in the past when he's been in the Premier League, but we don't know who's going to start. So that the second thing is injuries. There are going to be players that will pick up injuries from now and to when the season starts. And we're not going to know that until a week or so before the first games. And the third one is our transfers that are yet to take place. And the one that kind of comes to mind to me is Harry Kane. Is he going to go to Man City? Is he not? Now, if he is, there are some people that will think, well, if he goes to City, I definitely have to have him. If he stays at Spurs, maybe not. And there's different ways to look at it. Obviously, there's a train of thought that says, well, at Spurs, he's the talisman. He's going to hog the points because he's always generally going to be the guy that gets the goals. Obviously, along with Son. And if he goes to City, where they've got all those great attacking players, is he going to hog the points as much? Possibly not. However, having said that, if he can score 23 goals was it he got last season, if he can score that many goals playing for, let's face it, Spurs are they're quite an average team in my opinion. You take Son and Kane out of that team and they're bang average in my opinion. So if he can score 23 goals in that team that doesn't really have that many creative players, how many goals is he going to get in Man City with all those players around him? So you might think, if he goes to Man City, you have to have him in your team. But if you do that, because he's so expensive, you're then potentially having to completely restructure your whole team to fit him in, because you really have to go with almost a completely different structure, different formation. You're going to have to, you can't. You're going to have to, you can't have Fernandes, Salah, and Kane and have a balanced squad. So that's just my views on that. I just don't think, all this talk about, I see people talking about team reveals or such and such as team reveal. It's not a team reveal, is it? It's a draft that's a work in progress, because let's face it, it's going to be a lot different come game week 1. So having said all that, obviously you can see on the screen there that I have actually drafted a team. Now, don't get me wrong, it is quite, when the game launches, albeit it's quite early, it's quite exciting when it comes out, because I like to see, are there any changes to the design of the website, to the player prices, how much have they priced the players at, any change in the rules, any change in the chips, have they added any extra chips? So all that is quite exciting. So yes, I did, despite what I've said about spending time putting a draft together with so many weeks to go, I did it. But what I will say, this team here, this took me about 15 minutes to put together, just because I wanted to get an idea of the kind of team I could have with the budget and the player prices. So I'm happy to go through this, but as I've said, I would suggest that there's going to be quite a few changes to this team come game week 1. But having said that, with only 3 weeks to go, I'm not desperately wanting to change too many of these players at the moment. But let's go through that. So I think Sanchez, I think at 4.5 million, I think he's very good value. Brighton had one of the best defences last season, believe it or not, in terms of the statistics. So I personally just don't like to spend too much money on keepers. I will normally always get one that's 4.5, and I'll have a sub keeper that's 4 million, even if it's someone that is never going to play. So yeah, Alexander Arnold. A lot of people have got him. I think there's a view that with Van Dijk back for Liverpool, although having said that, I've read somewhere that he may still not be back for game week 1. I find that quite surprising. He's been out. How long is it going to take him to kind of be fit again? He's been out for such a long time. Hopefully it'll only be maybe 1 or 2 weeks that he misses. But obviously with him back, in theory that strengthens Liverpool's defence, and makes the likes of Trent and Robertson more attractive, because we obviously know Trent's attacking prowess, his ability to get assists and goals as well, and hopefully more clean sheets with Van Dijk back eventually. As I say, hopefully it won't be more than a couple of weeks. I've got Christensen in there. Don't know whether I'll keep him. There'll probably be a few raised eyebrows at him, because firstly, obviously, if you look at Chelsea's fixtures, they're not great. Obviously, you've got 4 red fixtures in the first 6. I tell you what, I don't really understand just on this. So Arsenal has been classed as a difficult fixture, graded 4. Now, for me, Arsenal have been a average mid-table team now for 4 or 5 seasons. But they still get classed as difficult games for a lot of teams. I don't understand that. That should be a 3 as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, so yeah, Chelsea's fixtures aren't great. However, if you and this is what I am intending to do, I'm going to try and have a pretty strong defence in terms of decent. I don't think I'll be going with 4 million. Any 4 million options, unless someone emerges that's a no-brainer. At the moment, I've got Holding and Veltman as my other 2 defenders. So my plan with Christensen is to basically I can rotate him. When Chelsea have tough games, I don't have to play him. Now I know, obviously, Tuchel is a bit of a tinkerer, and likes to rotate his players, but actually since he took charge last season, Christensen actually played most of the games. I think he played as many games as Rudiger did, so he seems to like him, and he's only 5 million, so I think he could be a decent option, as long as you've got decent cover for when Chelsea have a bad fixture or Christensen does get rotated out. But that's a little bit of a wait and see. I might keep him in, I'm not sure. So Dean, I think he's really good value at 5.5. Obviously Everton have got a new manager. Benitez, my memories of him are he's kind of, his priority is being solid at the back rather than attack. So I think potentially Everton's and the defence was actually half decent last year, particularly towards the end. I had Dean in my team for the last 6 or 7 weeks, and he got me a few clean sheets. And obviously you've got his attacking threat as well. 5.5, I think he's great value, and I don't see me changing him. Him and Alexander Arnold, I don't really think I'll be changing them at all. Unless something drastic happens, or unless there's injuries, or Everton buy a big left back from somewhere, but it's highly unlikely. So I've got Buendia. Looking at my midfield, I like Buendia. He was very good at Norwich. I think he'll be really good in that Villa team. 6.5 million. I think he could be good value. Villa have got quite good fixtures as well. I think, well, first 3 anyway. When it gets to game week 4, I might have to consider moving him on. We'll have to see. Fernandes, he's in at the moment. What I will say is I don't quite understand why Fernandes has been priced at 12 million and Salah is 12.5. it doesn't make any sense to me, because if you look at the points from last year, Fernando's got more points. And also, last year, albeit he only played, I think, the last sort of 15 games for Man United, but he averaged about 8 points per game over that time. And then he's obviously carried on that FPL form all through last season. So I don't really understand the logic in having him at 12 million, whereas Salah's 12.5. But anyway, that's just my view on that. I will on my next video. I am going to talk more about the player prices and which players I think have possibly been underpriced and overpriced. Well, that's going to be in the next video. So yeah, I've got Salah. There's not really a lot you can say about him. You know, he's obviously proven great fantasy asset. Liverpool's fixtures are pretty good as well. So yeah, he's in for now. I don't envisage him going anywhere. Jota, not sure about him at the moment. I put him in because I just thought at 7.5 he could be, because if you actually look, I did some research on him actually. So let me just find it. So he actually averaged 7 points per 90 minutes played. I'll be back. Sorry, let me just need to let the dog in. Come on, you pest. Come on then, hurry up. Yeah, I did say, I think on my other video, that my videos are going to be unedited for now until I learn how to do it, so apologies for that. So yeah, Jota, basically when he plays he gets points, but yeah, there's always the risk of the rotation. I'm not really sure how many games he's going to play, so he may be someone that potentially I might not keep. Tony, again, unknown quantity really. He's 6.5. It's not a bad price. He's scored a lot of goals in the Championship last season, but yeah, of course we don't know whether how effective he's going to be in the Premier League. Obviously Bamford did well last season, didn't he? But so he's in at the moment, but it's a little bit blind with him because he's unknown, isn't he, in the Premier League. Iheanacho is in my team for now. I just think the form he showed last season when he played, I think he could be good value at 7.5. Obviously there are some question marks over what lineup Rodgers is going to put out, which again the pre-season lineups will give us an indication of that. Because obviously Barnes will now be back. Is he still going to play Iheanacho and Vardy up front, or is Iheanacho going to be back on the bench? We don't know. So that's a little bit of a wait and see. Pre-season games will tell us more. And look out for some press conferences and stuff like that from Rodgers and articles. Just to get, because I would like him, but yeah, if he's going to be a problem with not starting, then he may not be a good pick. Antonio again, 7.5 when he's fit. He's a decent player. I've never actually had Antonio. I never had him last season. Just never really got round to having him. There was always other options that I preferred, but he's in at the moment. But at the moment I'm undecided on, cause I'd really like Callum Wilson. I'm a big fan of him. In my horrendous start last season, Callum Wilson was the one shining light in my team really, so I've got a little bit of affection for him, and I might have him instead of Antonio or Iheanacho. So yeah, that's just my team at the moment. As I said, it's likely to change by game week 1. If Kane goes to Man City, not sure what I'll do. I must admit, I'd be tempted to have him, because at the moment as well I've got no City coverage. I'm not sure whether that's going to be a good move or not. Obviously the rotation thing is an issue there, but it doesn't feel great going without any City players. Just a point on Jadon Sancho. So what do people think about his price point? There's been a lot of discussion about him on Twitter, and Andy Let's Talk FPL has done a recent video on him. That's my own view, is that I think he's been overpriced at 9.5 million, bearing in mind he's coming from the Bundesliga, which is not a very good standard. My understanding is that it's not a great standard, that league. Obviously Werner came from there and he was awful last season. Havertz as well. Now that doesn't mean to say that Sancho is not going to be a good option. He might be, but I think he got 8 goals and 11 assists last season for Dortmund. I mean, it's not earth shattering, is it? And the other issue for me is how nailed is he going to be in that Man United team? I'm not sure he is going to be. A lot of people are saying, oh, he will. He'll play every game. He might do. I could be wrong, but I feel that with Rashford and Greenwood, Cavani, you know, they all can't play. You know, I can't see any system where they can all play, those players. So I do think there's a risk of him perhaps not being nailed. 9.5 I think for me is too much. He's completely unproven in the Premier League, and it's a wait and see for me. He's not in my thinking at all at the moment. So yeah, well, I'm going to wrap the video up there. I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, if you like the video, if you can like and hit the subscribe button, I'd appreciate it. My next video, I'm going to talk about it's just the player prices. I've just selected 6 or 7 players that I think have been either underpriced or overpriced. That's going to be my next video. So I'm going to sign off for now, guys. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.